Hey, before we get into today's video, a quick thank you. We've just gone past 500 subscribers, which is genuinely humbling for this little channel. If you're already subscribed, you're in the top 5% of people who watch these. Thank you. That actually means a lot. If you're in the other 95%, I love that you're here, and I love the comments. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one, or even just tap like if you're enjoying these. That's the motivation that keeps me making them. Right, let's get into it. Your Tesla is talking to Tesla's servers constantly. A steady trickle of location, diagnostics and status data, plus much bigger bursts whenever the car decides a moment's worth uploading, usually the next time you're on Wi-Fi. So I pulled my own router logs and actually measured it. What I found surprised me, and it explains a lot about how FSD keeps getting better and who else might be watching. If you've owned a Tesla for more than a week, you've probably wondered what's actually happening every time that little cellular icon flickers on your dash. Is it just sending diagnostics home? Is it uploading video of your driving? And who, other than Tesla, ever gets to see any of it? In this video, I'm answering 4 questions I get asked constantly by people in this channel's comments. How much data does your car actually send back to Tesla? What does Tesla do with it once it arrives? Do regulators get access to any of it? And the question that actually matters, does any of this make your driving experience better, or is it just one-way traffic for Tesla's benefit? I'm not guessing on any of this. I'm using 10 months of my own real upload data, plus what's actually on the public record from Tesla, US regulators and EU lawmakers to answer it properly. Start with the obvious question, and it turns out to be surprisingly hard to answer from Tesla's own materials. Tesla doesn't publish a "your car uses X gigabytes a month" figure anywhere. Not in the owner's manual, not in the app, not on the website. There's no setting on the touchscreen that shows you a running total of what's gone up versus what's come down. So most of what you'll read online is people repeating the same vague line. Your car sends telemetry every 500 milliseconds, which is true, but tells you nothing about volume. So instead of repeating that line, I did it myself. I run my Tesla's connectivity through my own network hardware at home, which means every time the car is on my Wi-Fi, I can see exactly how much data goes up to Tesla's servers and how much comes back down, broken out month by month. Here's 10 months of that, starting last October, from one car, mine. Back then, my car was uploading somewhere around 4 gigabytes a month, barely worth mentioning. By January, that had dropped even lower, under a gigabyte in some months. Then in February and March, it jumped hard, up into the high teens, low 20s, and by the summer, June through August, I was regularly seeing upload figures in the 30 plus gigabyte range. That's roughly a 10 times increase from where I started, and nothing about how much I was actually driving changed in that window. I want to be upfront about what this chart is and isn't. This is one car's measured experience, not an official Tesla figure, and not necessarily what your car is doing. Owners comparing notes online report wildly different numbers. Some barely register any upload if they're on cellular with FSD switched off. Others on heavy FSD use over Wi-Fi see numbers similar to mine or higher. Your mileage, quite literally, will vary. What I can tell you with confidence is the direction of travel on my own car and roughly why. You'll notice 2 months missing from the middle of that chart. I swapped network hardware in the spring, and I didn't grab the numbers off the old device before it reset. So April and May are a genuine gap, not a zero, and definitely not a dip I'm hiding. I'd rather show you an honest hole in the data than fake a smooth line just to make a cleaner looking graph. Now, quick disclosure before I explain the increase, because it matters for what I'm about to say. I've paid for full self-driving on this car, but it isn't actually switched on yet. It's still not approved for UK roads. So whatever's driving my numbers up, it isn't me racking up FSD miles. That's actually the interesting part, because there's a real specific reason for it, and it's not just generic software bloat. It's called shadow mode, and if you've heard owners call it ghost mode, this is what they mean. Even with FSD switched off, the car's computer runs the FSD software silently in the background on every drive, watching what's in front of you, working out what it would have done, and comparing that against what you actually did. It doesn't touch the steering or the pedals, but every time its decision differs from mine, a junction, a roundabout, a lane change, that moment gets flagged and queued for upload. Tesla's confirmed this is happening at scale across Europe. To get FSD approved by the Dutch regulator in April 2026, Tesla submitted over 1.6 million kilometers of shadow mode driving data harvested from the European fleet, and by the summer that figure had grown to 50 million kilometers, and UK cars specifically are part of this. Tesla has been collecting UK data on roundabouts, narrow lanes and winter conditions ahead of a UK approval decision expected sometime in late 2026 or early 2027. So my car has effectively been auditioning FSD against my own driving this whole time, without ever switching it on, and that's very likely the biggest single reason my upload numbers climbed the way they did. It's also worth being clear on what's actually inside that upload figure, because data covers a lot of ground. Some of it is tiny: GPS pings, battery state, tyre pressure, a line in a log file. Some of it is genuinely heavy, short video clips, mainly from the exterior cameras, tagged with exactly what the car was doing at that moment. The cabin camera is handled differently. By default, footage from it doesn't leave the car at all unless you've switched on data sharing, and even then it isn't tied to your car's identity the way exterior footage can be. It's mainly there for driver monitoring and specific safety events, not general FSD training. And to be clear, none of this requires FSD to be active. Autopilot alone, or even no driver assist features switched on at all, still generates a steady flow of diagnostic and usage data. FSD, once it's live here, will turn that tap up further, but as my own chart shows, the tap is already running without it. Walk through what that actually looks like in a single moment on the road. Say a cyclist swerves out from between two parked vans on a residential street, and you brake hard to avoid them. In that few second window, the car's onboard system can flag the event as significant, hard braking, an object entering the path unexpectedly, a driver intervention. Rather than that clip sitting on the car's internal storage forever, it gets marked as a candidate for upload the next time the car is on a strong enough connection, typically your home Wi-Fi overnight. Multiply that one moment by every Tesla on the road hitting similar situations: a badly parked van, a pothole, a confusing new road layout after roadworks. Whether FSD is actively driving or just quietly running in the background comparing notes, and you start to see how the upload figure climbs so fast. It isn't one giant constant stream, so much as thousands of small specific "this was interesting" moments stacked up over a month. It's also worth putting Tesla in context here, rather than treating this as uniquely invasive. Most modern connected cars, BMW, Mercedes, Ford, VW, collect broadly similar categories of telemetry: location, diagnostics, driving behavior, and increasingly camera data for their own driver assist systems. What makes Tesla's case more visible is scale and transparency by necessity, because FSD is marketed as an active improving system, and because US regulators require crash-level reporting that most other manufacturers' more limited driver assist systems don't trigger in the same way. Waymo, as a fully driverless robotaxi operator, is held to an even higher public reporting bar again. So the honest framing isn't Tesla uniquely spies on you, it's Tesla's business model depends on data volume in a way that's more visible than most, because the car is genuinely trying to learn from you. This is where it gets genuinely interesting, because the honest answer isn't, "It sits in a warehouse somewhere." Tesla uses fleet data for a handful of very specific jobs, and each one explains a different part of the ownership experience. First, and the big one, fleet learning for FSD. When one car in the fleet hits a scenario, the neural network handles badly, an unusual object encroaching on the road, a confusing traffic light layout, an aggressive cut-in. That clip can get flagged and pulled back to Tesla specifically to retrain the model on that exact situation. Tesla itself has claimed, in a customer email earlier this year, that FSD is trained on what amounts to over 100 years of real-world driving experience. That's Tesla's own framing rather than an independently audited figure, and it'll keep climbing as the fleet grows, but the underlying point holds up. That scale only exists because hundreds of thousands of cars, potentially including yours, are quietly contributing footage every single day. On top of the real-world clips, Tesla also runs enormous amounts of simulated driving to fill in scenarios that don't happen often enough in real traffic to train on directly. Think rare combinations of weather, obstacles, and road layouts. Second, diagnostics and reliability. Battery health, motor performance, charging behavior, even how a particular part is wearing across thousands of identical vehicles, all monitored remotely so Tesla can catch a failing component pattern, sometimes before any individual owner notices anything wrong, and push a fix out as an over-the-air update rather than waiting for a service visit. Third, and this one directly affects your wallet if you use it, your safety score for Tesla insurance. Tesla tracks things like hard braking, aggressive turning, forward collision warnings, unsafe following distance, late night driving, excessive speeding, and how often you force autopilot to disengage, and rolls all of that into a monthly score. That score can move your premium up or down by a meaningful margin. Owners with scores in the high 90s have reported discounts of 40 to 50% compared to a standard policy. The common thread across all three is that almost none of this is passive storage sitting on a hard drive somewhere. It's an active input into something, a neural network, a repair queue, or a premium calculation that lands directly in your bank account. There's also a step in between that's easy to miss. Before most of this data is used for training, Tesla runs a process to strip or blur identifying details. Faces and number plates outside the vehicle get obscured, and Tesla's own documentation states that footage is designed to be de-identified from your account wherever possible before it's used to train the model. That doesn't mean the data is anonymous the moment it leaves your car. It's still tied to your VIN in Tesla's systems for diagnostics and safety purposes. But it does mean the clip a machine learning engineer actually reviews usually isn't stamped with your name and address. Yes, and this is the part most owners genuinely don't realize until something goes wrong. In the United States, Tesla is legally required to report certain crashes to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration under something called a Standing General Order that covers any vehicle running autopilot or full self-driving. If a crash involving those systems results in a fatality, an airbag deployment, a vehicle tow-away, or someone being taken to hospital, Tesla has to file a report using data pulled directly from the car. 2026 has seen filing volumes climb sharply. Tesla logged over 200 driver assist crashes in a single month at one point, and by the halfway point of the year had already reported around 826 crashes for 2026, roughly 73% more than the same period the year before. Tesla has also drawn criticism for redacting the narrative details in a lot of these reports when most other companies filing under the same order, Waymo, Zoox and others, have published fuller accounts. Tesla is currently under a separate ongoing NHTSA investigation into exactly how FSD handles traffic law violations at junctions and traffic lights. A concrete example makes this less abstract. Tesla's small robo-taxi fleet in Austin, Texas, racked up 17 reported incidents between its launch in June 2025 and March 2026. Closer to home, there's a big one landing this year. The EU Data Act starts applying directly to connected vehicles from September 2026. It forces manufacturers, Tesla included, to give owners, and any third party the owner chooses, like an independent garage or an insurer, structured, accessible copies of the data their own car generates. That's a direct legal response to years of car manufacturers treating vehicle data as something only they get to use. In the UK specifically, there isn't a dedicated regulator pulling live crash telemetry out of Tesla's servers the way NHTSA does in the US. But there is a very live, very specific example running right now. The Vehicle Certification Agency, the UK's type approval body, is reviewing FSD for UK roads under the same UN Regulation 171 framework the Dutch regulator used. That review runs on real driving data, the same shadow mode data I mentioned earlier, harvested from cars like mine on UK roundabouts and narrow lanes specifically, to prove the system behaves safely here before it's allowed to actually drive. So in a very direct sense, some of the data my own car has been generating this whole time isn't just feeding a neural network. It may end up in front of the exact regulator, deciding whether FSD gets switched on for the rest of us. Beyond that specific approval process, UK owners fall under the same broad EU-style data protection framework, and Tesla's own UK privacy notice gives you a toggle in the car to control what categories of data get shared and with whom, worth actually checking, because most owners never open that menu. Data protection regulators sit slightly apart from safety regulators, and they matter here too. Under UK GDPR, the Information Commissioner's Office has the power to investigate how any company, Tesla included, collects, stores and shares personal data, and vehicle telemetry that can identify you or your location counts as personal data under that law. So even outside of a crash investigation, there's a standing legal framework that could compel Tesla to explain or restrict what it does with your driving data if a complaint were ever raised. It's a quieter form of oversight than a crash report making headlines, but it's there in the background the entire time your car is connected. Genuinely, yes. In a few concrete, measurable ways, not just as a talking point. Every edge case pulled in from the fleet becomes a fix that ships to every other car over the air, which is a big part of why FSD behaves noticeably differently now than it did even 6 months ago, without you doing anything except accepting an update. Diagnostic data catches component faults before they turn into a breakdown on the motorway, and crash reporting to regulators, uncomfortable as it clearly is for Tesla when the numbers are bad, is the actual mechanism that keeps public pressure on the company to fix known failure patterns rather than quietly patch around them and hope nobody notices. The trade-off is the one this whole video has been circling. None of that improvement happens without the upload traffic we started with back in section 1. More data going out, in theory, means a genuinely better car coming back, but it's worth knowing that trade exists, rather than assuming the connection icon on your dash is doing nothing. I can't show you this firsthand on the FSD side. Mine's paid for, but still not activated here, but it's well documented in owner reports and Tesla's own release notes from markets where it is live. Smart Summon getting more confident in tight car parks, city street driving, handling roundabouts and unmarked junctions better than it did a year ago, and faster reactions in poor weather and low light. All of those are fleet learning outcomes, not one engineer sitting down and hand coding a fix for a specific road. And it's worth saying plainly, every one of those improvements is being trained, in part, on data from cars like mine, even before FSD itself reaches the UK. If you want to see something close to your own version of the chart I showed earlier, you don't need to be a network engineer. The simplest starting point is your home router or network hardware. If your Tesla connects to your home Wi-Fi to download software updates, most consumer routers and mesh systems have a per-device usage log buried in their app or admin page, and Tesla, or your car's assigned device name, will show up as its own entry. That won't capture data sent over cellular when you're out and about, but it gives you a real baseline, the same way it did for me. On the privacy side, open your car's touchscreen and go into the data sharing settings. That's where you'll find the toggles for things like autopilot analytics and allow data sharing to improve products and features. Switching those off doesn't disconnect your car, but it does reduce what leaves the vehicle for anything beyond the legally required diagnostic and safety data. So that's where your data actually goes: fleet learning, diagnostics, your insurance score if you're on Tesla insurance, and increasingly straight into a regulator's inbox on both sides of the Atlantic. If you want to check your own car's data usage the same way I did, the methods above, and if you do it, drop your own monthly upload figure in the comments. I'm genuinely curious how mine compares to everyone else's. Subscribe if you want the next one, where I'm digging into the latest on UK FSD approval. See you in the next one.